Hello, my name is Anna and I love trying vintage recipes. So today I'm trying 3 leftover ham recipes from the 1970s. Today's recipes come to us from Good Housekeeping's More for Your Money Meat Cookbook. This book was originally published in 1971 and I will talk more about it a little bit later. So Easter is coming up fast, but I wanted to make this video ahead of time so that you can make some plans on how to use up your leftover Easter ham if that is what you have for your holiday meal. It seems like during big holidays, we always tend to have something left over. At Thanksgiving, it is turkey. At Christmas time, it really depends on what your family has. It could be ham, it could be turkey, it could be beef. Easter, what comes to mind for me is either ham or lamb. So I wanted to provide a little bit of inspiration on just a couple of dishes that you could make to use up those leftovers. I love repurposing a leftover. There's actually a section in this book on repurposing leftovers that I'll talk about a little bit later, but we all know how expensive groceries are these days. So I think we really have to use up what we have as much as possible. So now I'm gonna try out this savory ham in toast cups. Basically, you kind of make a mixture with ham and you put it in a toast cup. I'm just gonna make 1 toast cup though. I don't wanna make the full recipe of toast cups because it's just me giving this a try. We start with butter. Maybe. Come on. You're giving me a hard time. And I'm gonna let that melt. Butter is almost melted, so I'm gonna add some diced onion and green pepper. I love the way that green pepper looks in that pink dish. And now I just need to let that cook and soften for a minute. So now I've got my flour and I need to stir that in and let that cook for a minute. And now I'm adding hot water. That made a good noise. So let's get that stirred. I may switch over to my twist whisk, get in those corners. And you might be thinking this is weird. Like why hot water? Well, I will tell you why. It's because next comes the evaporated milk. So there's milk in this. It's like a can of evaporated milk. I mean, when I put the milk in here, the milk was undiluted. So that's why there's also like water in here a little bit. Stir that until it is slightly thickened. So this has thickened a bit. Make sure everything was incorporated. This is when we add the ham. I do feel like you could possibly make this mixture ahead of time and then like reheat it when you need it. I have just a little bit of yellow mustard, some Lea & Perrins, salt and pepper, and then finally the teeny tiny juicer is making an appearance. I have a little bit of lemon juice that goes in there. So I just need to make sure everything is incorporated and then just keep this warm. And next I'm gonna focus on my toast cup. So I'm making a toast cup, just one, just for me. And you're supposed to do it in a muffin tin. I'm just gonna try making it in a little sort of custard cup because it's just one. I don't wanna get out an entire muffin tin. This is slightly bigger, of course, than what a muffin tin would be. So just as to press a piece of crustless white bread in here. So the other thing, I am probably gonna leave the toast cup in here. The point is to make the toast cups in the muffin tins and then take them out and it's beautiful and impressive. That's not it today. That's not me today. So we're just gonna make the one in here. I feel like if you didn't wanna make these toast cups, you could also just get puff pastry rounds and it would probably be delicious. So now I just have a little melted butter that I need to brush on this bread. And I've preheated my oven. It's not quite there yet, but you preheat the oven to 500 degrees. You put this in the oven, let it toast. Keep a sharp eye on it. It does not give really a time. You just kind of like watch it. And then you fill it with the ham mixture. There's my tiny toast cup. Okay, this isn't so warm, but this cup is very warm. If I had made the tiny toast cups like in the muffin tins, it would look different. So I'm gonna attempt to sample this while I'm still leaving it in the cup. That's why I got a little knife and fork. Toasty. I mean, the bread got a little soggy with the mixture on top, of course. Wow, okay. I have a lot of thoughts. It almost tastes cheesy. And I think it's because, the evaporated milk is so thick and so creamy. And then you get the salty flavor from the ham. So that's kind of like what you'd get from the saltiness of the cheese. And then there's this like zingy brightness, like in flavor that comes from, I think, both the mustard and the lemon juice. So it's very interesting. There's no cheese in this, but it really does taste like it. Wow. That is so interesting. I've talked about the sandwiches before that my mom makes where it's like a slice of ham, a slice of processed cheese, and then some like Dijon mustard or Dijon mayonnaise, Dijonnaise, and then you wrap them and you bake them. That's what this tastes like, kind of. And there's like absolutely no cheese in it. That is wild. If you didn't want to make the toast cups, you could just make toast points. You don't have to make the toast cups, but if you're feeling fancy, definitely go for it. That is interesting. It is delicious. It is tasty. There's no cheese. I know I keep saying that. I'm just amazed. It really tastes like there is. Did you know that I love editing videos? I really, really do. Sometimes I edit all the way through dinner time and then I get really, really hungry and then my blood sugar drops and I get really, really angry. And trust me, nobody wants that. Fortunately, I have Factor. Thank you to Factor for sponsoring today's video. Factor delivers fresh, never frozen, dietitian approved meals right to my doorstep. Their meals are ready to heat and eat, so no prepping, cooking, or cleanup needed. I can choose from over 35 different chef-prepared options per week. Their meals fit a variety of dietary needs, including keto, calorie smart, vegan and veggie, and more. Factor meals are both delicious and fast, so they're perfect for those busy days when I need a meal really quickly. This is the vegan mushroom marsala with onion risotto and garlic green beans, and it has become one of my favorites. Very delicious, just took 2 minutes in the microwave. I mean, who knows how long this would actually take me to cook. Head to factor75.com or click the link in the description down below and use code COOKINGBOOKS50 to get 50% off your first Factor box and free wellness shots for life. You'll get 2 free wellness shots from 3 available flavors for every order while you're an active subscriber. Thank you again to Factor for sponsoring today's video. I decided to try this ham casserole Alfredo. Yeah, it's a casserole, but it is a little bit different. Instead of, what I would expect to have cream soup, it has more of a cream cheese kind of base. So excited to see how this turns out. And the first thing I have to do is cook my noodles according to package directions. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. So meanwhile, back in this corner, I have just a little bit of water kind of coming to a boil here, and I need to cook my veggies. So that is green pepper and, believe it or not, celery. I chopped it very small. I don't mind cooked celery quite the way that I mind raw celery. So we're gonna give it a go. The noodles are all done and I am letting those drain. And it says for the next step that I'm supposed to mix my cream cheese, Parmesan cheese, etc. in the casserole dish itself. I am making a call here. I think that would be really hard. I'd probably just end up making a huge mess and or breaking my casserole dish, which I don't want to do. So I'm gonna mix the sauce in this pan just because I think it's just gonna be better to do that. It's gonna be smoother. Sorry for changing things up, folks. I know it makes some of you mad, but I don't care. Yeah, I mean, I don't think this is such a big change that it's gonna be very disruptive to the recipe. Okay, so I've got my cream cheese in there. And next I have my Parmesan cheese, some milk, and I am cutting this recipe in half. I often do that, but I put the full recipe in the description down below. And some garlic. I am opting for one of those little frozen cubes of garlic. I love those things. They started selling them at Aldi, which was great. They have ginger cubes as well, so check and see if your store has them. So I think just the warmth from this pan is gonna be enough to kind of soften and melt this. I let the cream cheese soften, but just trying to mix it together in a casserole dish, I don't know how that would go. Let's just do this. I don't have any heat like under the pan or anything. This is just a tiny bit of residual warmth that is from cooking the noodles. Yeah, this is nice. This is nice. Gently stir in noodles, celery, and green pepper. My noodles, these are just wide egg noodles, and my cooked celery and green pepper. The other thing I probably would have done is just cook the noodles and the vegetables together. Like, that just makes sense to me. I'm just gonna kind of be gentle, like they say. The sauce smells very nice. Cheesy and garlicky. I mean, 2 great things to me. We have more things to add, so I don't want to stir it up too much. We have the star of the show, some ham. I just diced it up, and canned mushrooms, which feel right. I mean, just for the era of this recipe, canned mushrooms just feel correct. And that is what is recommended in the recipe. So I am just gonna combine that a little bit, very gently. It's nice and colorful in there, I think. Oh, well, we lost one. I think if you just heated this through, it could possibly taste good the way it is, but we're gonna take it a step further. It's gonna go in a casserole dish and it's gonna go in the oven. You know that I'll take any excuse to use one of my Pyrex casserole dishes. This one is called Blue Snowflake, or sometimes it is referred to as Garland, because there's another Pyrex pattern that has actual snowflakes on it, like what you would see when it's snowing outside. I think it is gorgeous. Okay, so my mixture goes in here. Yeah, there's not really any way that I would have wanted to mix the sauce in this tiny little thing. I needed my room. I needed space, y'all. Okay, so now I've got some little cubes of butter. You just dot the top of this with butter. I think it could be even better if you use some breadcrumbs, but I'm not going to do that. They're not in the recipe. Just know that if this turns out well and I make it again, I may include some breadcrumbs. I think that's probably good. That's what she's looking like. So now I need to bake this at 350 degrees for about 35 minutes. Very colorful. I have a feeling this is gonna be very warm and comforting. I swear, the weather during my last, 3 videos or so has just been all over the place. It's pretty cold today and it's been snowing, but then the sun came out, now it's cloudy again and it looks like it's gonna snow again. I don't know. It's spring, everybody. Anyway, this is gonna be my dinner, but it's still a little early for dinner. So I'm just gonna try a little taste for the camera. Aha, yes. Ooh, the steam. The steam is billowing. Just do like a spoonful here. Yes. Oh my gosh, that's so hot. Okay. Did I get a mushroom? It's very important that I get a mushroom. I feel like that's everything you want in a casserole. It's a little bit different than your normal like casserole formula where you take like a starch and maybe some cream soup and meat and whatever vegetables, which is also very good. But this definitely tastes more like an Alfredo sauce with the cream cheese, the milk, and the Parmesan as like the binder or the sauce part of it. I really like the combination of everything together. I cooked my noodles on like the lower end of the time that was recommended on the package. Actually, I went a minute less. Good call, because this did soften up in the oven a bit. So if you're gonna make this, I would definitely recommend cooking your noodles maybe 1 minute less than like the lowest amount of time on the package. But I think it turned out to be the perfect texture. That is so good. And it's a little bit different, you know? I'm sure when you have leftover ham from Easter or leftover turkey from Thanksgiving, it always seems to be those big holidays, right? Where we have leftover food like that. Maybe you're kind of using those things up in the same ways. If you haven't tried something like this, I definitely encourage you to do so because it is delicious. It is comforting. I think you could actually, even if you didn't have leftover ham, you could make this and like take it to a potluck or take it to a friend or neighbor who maybe you want to take a meal to. It's so good. It really, really is. So you might be thinking, how am I gonna get through all of these main dishes with ham? Like, I'm gonna get so tired of it. My family is just, I can't serve ham as the main part of every meal. Well, you don't actually have to. There are lots of ways that you can kind of put ham into other things like side dishes or breakfast. It doesn't have to be the star of the show. There's this little tiny section in the margin on one of the pages in this book, and it's called Mini Treats with Ham. And it has a few suggestions here on how you can incorporate leftover ham into things that aren't necessarily like a main dish. So, you know, sauteed ham filling, that's mainly, I think, just for like an omelet filling, but it would be great if you threw a little bit of cubed ham in with your scrambled eggs, you know, maybe made a breakfast wrap out of it. There's also this club special, but I was most interested in these savory beans, and that's what I'm going to be trying. This is what my grandma would have called a doctored up recipe. Grandma was a really big fan of doctoring things up. So I'm just gonna put a little bit of oil in a saucepan. I find that, you know, we got this for our Blackstone, but I actually find that having just a squeeze bottle with oil in it is very helpful. So you don't necessarily have to have a Blackstone to do that. Put a little heat under there. So just a small amount of oil in a little saucepan that's gonna fit your can of beans. This is a very imprecise recipe. There are no amounts. It just says to saute a little bit of onion and some green pepper and celery. Like, who even am I? So I am just gonna let that cook for a minute before I add my ham. So those have just been softening for a couple of minutes. And now I'm gonna add just a little bit of ham. Again, it doesn't say how much. Whatever you feel. I think this is probably less than half a cup of diced ham. And let that cook as well. So everything's just nice and a little bit toasty. Now I'm gonna add a can of baked beans, just whatever, I guess. Whatever your favorite is, whatever they have at your store, add that. And then you just let everything heat through and you're done. There we have our doctored up beans. Super simple. you know, you can take something that already exists and just kind of enhance it, and enhance it with ham if you have it. So I'm gonna give this a try. It smells very good in here. Usually on days that I'm filming, it does smell very good in my kitchen, I must say. Very good. The smokiness of the ham really does kind of like boost the flavor of everything else. Love those little bit of vegetables in there just to give it kind of some like brightness, I guess you could say. I really like beans. If you don't like beans, like try one of the other little ham treats or whatever they're called in this book. But this one is very good. It is very easy. It's a great side dish. Maybe you don't want to feature ham on your main dinner menu for the night. Maybe you're grilling burgers or something. Boom, side dish. The More for Your Money Meat Cookbook was published in 1971, and it comes to us from Good Housekeeping. I have really been loving the Good Housekeeping books lately. I just did a video on meatless main dishes not too long ago. That was also from a Good Housekeeping cookbook of the same era. I believe it's like 1975, and they have a lot of similarities as far as looks go. This one did have a dust cover on it. I took it off. It wasn't in great condition. If you also love Good Housekeeping cookbooks, you should definitely go check out the video that Kevin did, Kevin from Cavalcade of Food. He did an entire video on Good Housekeeping cookbooks in general, a little bit about their history. I cannot recommend that channel enough. If you like vintage things, like he has everything. I can't describe it. You know, he has cookbooks, he has cookware, he has vintage appliances. He's been a collector for a long time and has this amazing, amazing space that you have to check out. So please do visit Cavalcade of Food and check out Kevin's videos. I wanted to do a video about leftovers, and I thought with Easter coming up, that leftover ham would be a good choice. I love to repurpose a leftover. I love to use up what I have as much as I can, and this book had a lot of good ideas. This was also in the running for my 1970s budget video that I did in January. So this, you know, maybe next January it'll make an appearance again. So let's look at some pictures, shall we? There are a lot of pictures or a lot of photos, not really illustrations. They're pretty much all photos as far as I can tell. And they have quite a few of them. These are different kinds of meatloaves. Gotta love a meatloaf. Oh, I like this one a lot. So these are like different types of hamburgers that are very festively decorated. I love the color scheme of this page too, that bright pink and orange. Wait a minute. I didn't look very closely at these. For the most part, they look, I don't want to say normal because people have different tastes. I don't want to like put down anybody's taste. They look how you would expect a hamburger with maybe some interesting toppings. The most interesting to me, I think those are pecans. I just noticed that they look like candied pecans. I've never tried it. Have you tried it? Maybe it's good. Who knows? I like candied pecans. I just don't know if I would enjoy them on a burger. I really like this little page with the Cornish game hen casserole. Sorry, trying to avoid the glare if I can. It's very sunny out today. But again, with this like bright pink, something about that like bright pink and this this pattern on the cloth behind it, it just mixes and makes something really pleasing to my eye. And yes, we do have a chapter on variety meats. I have not explored variety meats very much. I'm not like afraid of them. It's just they're not my favorite thing. I have tried several different types of things like that. They're not my cup of tea. What they call variety meats are offal. Not awful, O-F-F-A-L. So you're thinking liver, tongue, kidneys, heart, tripe, brains, etc. Just not my thing. If it's your thing, great. But I mean, you probably won't see too much of that on my channel just because it's not for me, but that's okay. They do have, this is a tongue platter, Cumberland tongue platter. We have the poultry chapter. And these chapters, these are about just like meats in general, not specifically leftovers, but they do have a leftovers chapter. Here it is, leftovers. I really like this very impactful lettering style that they're using. So this chapter is very nice, gives a lot of ideas for repurposing leftovers. Okay, so I did find the illustration. I remember now there was one in here, and it is the page that kind of shows you how to make a casserole. And this is like a formula basically. I remember learning about this kind of like formula in the Tightwad Gazette. Do you know what I'm talking about? So the Tightwad Gazette, I believe it started as a newsletter, and then it was so popular and had such a following, it was turned into a couple of books. And I think then they took those volumes and they put them in one giant, like, tightwad Gazette extravaganza. But this was like in the 80s and 90s. You know, it was like a paper newsletter. You weren't getting it in your inbox. There was no website. Maybe there was later on. I'm not sure. But we had those books growing up. And I remember the author, her name was Amy, I can't pronounce her last name. I'll link the book in the description down below. There's probably still some very good advice in there. But it was basically like, take your starch, so like rice, noodles, potatoes, whatever. Take your sauce or your binder, so it was like cream soup or white sauce or cheese sauce or whatever. Get a veggie, get the meat, get a like goodie sort of product, which was the topping, so like buttered breadcrumbs or French fried onions. And basically you combine it all and bake it and make a casserole. And you know, it worked pretty well. It was a great way to take some of those leftovers and turn them into a whole other meal. But I just love, I mean, not only the little casserole formula, but I love the illustration here. I think it's very cute. The very like thick lines and bright colors. Oh no, there's a couple of other ones too. So I guess the leftovers chapter has the illustrations rather than the photographs, although I think there are some photographs in there too. Ooh, look at all these soups. Yeah. My recipes actually didn't come out of the leftovers chapter. They were from the pork chapter. I don't necessarily mean to be like, you have to make these recipes exactly this way. I think you know that by now if you've been watching for a while. Most of the time, I just want to give you some inspiration or some ideas, maybe to have you make something that you haven't thought about before, haven't thought about in a long time. In addition to the things I made, I was kind of thinking through like, what are some other things that you can make from leftover ham? And of course, there's always ham salad or ham loaf. My other thought was like a ham spoon bread. So I made chicken spoon bread in a past video. I think you could do it with ham as well, and it would be really delicious. You could put it in any number of soups, but one soup that comes to my mind is a soup that my mom used to make growing up. I'm sure she still makes it now. It's called cream of Parisian soup. It was such a great way to use different kinds of leftovers. The recipe that she used came from a restaurant that was in the area, and I have a link to that, so I'll put it in the description down below. It's basically like a creamy vegetable soup with ham in it, and it was so, so delicious. Everybody loved that soup, and it was really like a way for us to use up leftovers. So yes, you could make it with leftover ham, but the other interesting thing is we would make it with either like vegetable scraps. So like the main vegetables that I remember having in it were carrots, broccoli, and cauliflower. So you can make it with like the broccoli stems that you peeled. Or the other thing, if you had a gathering or a party or whatever, and there was a vegetable tray, and you know, or you have just like a vegetable tray that you're eating, you're kind of getting tired of it, just chop up all the vegetables from the vegetable tray and like put them in the soup. I'm sure some of you, many of you probably thought about that before, but that's what I always remember, you know, using either leftover vegetables or leftover ham in that soup. Let's talk about the recipes I chose today. When I started making this video, I was like, are these too similar? When I say are these too similar, I mean the two, like the casserole and then the ham in the savory ham in toast cups. I think that's what it was called. They couldn't have been more different. Let's start with the ham casserole Alfredo. Very, very good. I did have it for dinner last night and it did reheat very well. Garlicky, cheesy kind of sauce, and just all of the flavors were really, really delicious together. Super simple to make. And who doesn't love a warm, comforting casserole on a very cold day? I'm trying to think if there's anything different I would do with that one. Oh, I do remember the thing that I wanted to change or add. So the green peppers and the celery were fine. Like I liked them, I ate them. I think this would be so fantastic with peas. You know, peas are one of my favorite vegetables. I think that they go really well in like a cheesy, creamy sauce. I think you could either add them to this or maybe substitute the peas for like the green pepper and the celery. You know, of course you would have like a different taste and everything. Just an idea. I think it would be really good. The savory ham in toast cups. I think I was the most shocked by that one, to be honest. You know, I didn't think I would dislike it. I just thought it was kind of going to be like a creamy, like ham kind of sauce or mixture that you put in toast cups. But the taste was so different from what I expected. It really tasted like cheese. Yeah. Like I couldn't believe it. So interesting to me. And it's just the combination of flavors, the creamy sauce and then the salty ham and then that really like tangy kind of bright flavor from the mustard and the lemon juice. All of it like works together to make you think you're eating a cheese sauce. So you could put it over the toast cups or whatever, toast point. I think toast points would be so much easier here, of course, maybe not as fancy. I think it would kind of be really good with vegetables. So make like steamed broccoli and then put the ham whatever, savory ham. They're just calling it savory ham. So put that mixture over the broccoli and it would taste so good. I think I'm gonna try that because I do have, I cut the recipe in half, but I do have some of the mixture left over. So I think that would be a really good thing to try. And then we have our mini treats with ham. I thought that was so funny, just the way that they named that. But I think that little snippet, that little section in the margin really kind of brought up a good point in that you don't have to necessarily feature, you know, the ham or whatever meat you're trying to like use up, but you can use it to enhance other things, enhance something that already exists. Throw it in a soup, throw it in with some beans, put it in an omelet, put it in a scrambled egg thing. What a scrambled egg thing anyway. There's just a lot that you can do that doesn't necessarily have to be like ham as the headline. If you're kind of starting to tucker out about the ham and you know, maybe you're getting a little tired of it. So I thought it was really delicious in those beans. Maybe a very simple idea, but possibly something that maybe you haven't thought about before. Many thanks to Factor for sponsoring today's video. Head to factor75.com or click the link in my description down below and use the code COOKINGBOOKS50 for 50% off your first order and free wellness shots for life. If you love recipes and cookbooks from the 1970s, I have an entire playlist and I'll link it in the description down below. If you'd like to see more of my content, you can join me over on Patreon. I'll leave a link in the description if you're interested in joining. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.